How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to 2A News Now. And as always, I appreciate everybody that takes time to watch my videos. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Troy. Most of us are aware that back in 2024, the Little Rock home of Brian Malinowski was raided by the ATF. This was a no-knock raid, and when you hear somebody breaking into your home at around 4 o'clock in the morning, and you own a firearm, the first thing you're going to do is grab that firearm and protect yourself and your family. And that's what Brian Malinowski did, and he fired off a shot or two. And in return, an ATF agent shot him in the head and killed him. And I don't have a problem with a member of law enforcement returning fire when they're fired upon. The problem I have with the whole thing is it should have never happened to begin with. Brian Malinowski was an airport executive at the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport. He made good money, and on the weekends, he would go to local gun shows and sell firearms. And he thought he was legally doing so, even though he didn't have an FFL. And somehow the ATF found out about it. And instead of doing some investigating and finding out that he didn't think he was breaking the law, they very easily could have contacted him and gave him a cease and desist letter, warning him if he does it again, he's going to be arrested. But they didn't do that. And since they decided against that, and they still wanted to take him down, they didn't need to do a no-knock raid early in the morning. They could have waited for him to go to work and did a traffic stop along the way to work and take him into custody there. Or the ATF could have done what other ATF agents did in a case not too long ago. When the guy went to work, they arrested him at work. And since he works at an airport, I don't think Brian Malinowski was bringing a firearm into the airport. But they didn't do it any of those ways either. They chose the old no-knock raid, busting into somebody's house, and Brian Malinowski paid for it with his life. And now there's a bill being proposed in Arkansas where this happened. And if passed, this bill will stop local law enforcement from helping federal agents when it comes to people who are being arrested for breaking federal gun laws. So two lawmakers in this state have co-sponsored this bill called the Anti-ATF Commandeering Act. It prohibits the provision of material aid and support for enforcement of federal firearms laws. And the bill is House Bill 1481. And they're using a United States Supreme Court decision that held that states do not have to participate in the enforcement or efficacy of federal acts or regulatory programs. This new legislation says that the state of Arkansas or any of its subdivisions may not provide material aid and support for enforcing federal firearms laws. This includes enforcement, regulation, execution of federal firearms laws. The two Arkansas state representatives that co-sponsored this bill are Representative Wayne Long and State Senator Gary Stubblefield. The bill that the two state representatives are proposing seems like a great idea, but it also could cause a problem. If it does pass, and all local law enforcement are directed not to help federal authorities when it comes to enforcing federal gun laws, but also local law enforcement help federal authorities with other crimes, such as human trafficking, drug trafficking, and others. And sooner or later, it would happen when local law enforcement did help federal authorities with one or more of those cases, and individuals were arrested, and they had firearms as well, they could be charged, and most likely would be charged, with a federal gun crime. So do we just give a pass on that? And according to what this bill says, state and local law enforcement should be cautious and should distance themselves with cooperating with any federal authorities. And if this bill does pass and is signed by the governor and goes into law, if state or local law enforcement violates this law, here's what they face. It would be a misdemeanor, but they would be fired. And if they are a law enforcement officer, their certification would be revoked, and somebody could sue the individual civilly. And somebody could receive up to $50,000 if someone's rights had been violated under this proposed law. On Tuesday, the Anti-ATF Commandeering Act will be brought up in the House Judiciary Committee, and they will consider the legislation. And besides your usual suspects who wouldn't want this bill to pass, it most likely will have some law enforcement that's not too thrilled with this bill as well. I personally think it's a great idea. And I think more states need to do this. And I'd really like to hear from you guys in the comment section your thoughts on this bill. And as always, I appreciate everybody that supports the channel. After every video you guys watch, you continue to help the channel out and help it to continue to grow by liking, sharing, and subscribing and hitting those post notifications. And I really do appreciate it. and I invite all of you to come back and watch my next video.